Thank you.
Warmer.
First, let me say, after your description, I think I'm in the wrong room.
Yeah.
So I am Daniel Kuypers. I'm from Chicago. I'm the head of music at BBDO, which is a global advertising agency. And I run music for basically our entire network, which spans 90 offices and 90 countries and a bunch of fucking offices. So, yeah, we have a swear jar.
Swear jar, $10 a phone.
Yeah. We're just going to put it on the stage. We also have tape just in case someone gets really unruly. I have a potty mouth. Apologize in advance, but I don't think I'm alone in that on this stage. So what I want to do is just go down the line and have all of you introduce yourselves. I think we all got to where we are in probably somewhat unique ways, and we probably didn't realize what we do is something you could actually do for a living within the music space. So I want to touch on that a little bit because I think that for me personally, it's been a really kind of weird journey to where I am now, and I started just as a musician trying to make records. Well, I was successful in making some records, but trying to make a living off of making records. So if we can go down the line, starting with Dan, and just say where you live, what you do, maybe a little bit about your sign, your shoe size, and then kind of how you got where you are.
I'm massive socks.
Sweet.
I'm Dan. I'm from UK. I live in London, and I own a bunch of companies that do audio post-production for film and TV and lots of commercials and lots of online stuff. And so over the years, we started in London. We've opened various sites in the UK, and we're in LA and soon to be in this lovely city, actually. I want you to take me up so bad. And so the thing we do, we work with composers, obviously, all the time, but also why this thing is interesting is because I want to talk about and look at the whole sound design thing, which I think, for me, is working with artists, working with composers, but who actually do sound design. So it's maybe not music in conventional way, but it's still a very creative process.
Yeah, I mean, it's audio-based, and it's something that I think people don't automatically think of when they think, okay, how can I get into the studio today and pay for my rent tomorrow, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, career-based stuff, and it's a rare talent. But I think all the people we use for sound design, obviously we have lots of re-recording mixers and all sorts of different people who are very good at their bit that creates the whole audio post-production output that we deliver. But the sound design thing is a thing, and it's very tricky to find those people who are super talented at it. Historically, to date, they always are coming from the musical side of things. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, we're going to get into that. Ricardo.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. So, I'm Ricardo Almeida. I do work with EA for, I guess, the lucky number 13 years now as a music director, essentially handling sync licenses and composer liaison, so to speak, getting creative with the composers to make interactive music for, big games, I guess. I guess the games distribute really well, and, we have a good time.
Where are you based?
We're based out of, technically it's called EA Vancouver, but it's not Vancouver, it's Burnaby. But, that doesn't look as sexy on a title card, I suppose. But it's basically right on the cusp of Burnaby and Vancouver. Great place, and good place to stretch out and do some good work, especially around anybody who likes to do any kind of creative electronic music, all that kind of stuff. Anybody who likes to mess with computers and music, that's basically the spot to do it.
When you were a kid, is that what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Yeah. Basically, I liked the circuit boards, right, when I was little, obviously, and then I got up from there into, making sounds with little keyboards and stuff, then getting into the studio. Then it starts that whole train of, got to buy more gear and more synths. So now I got a whole room full of synths, and I'm like, my God, it costs money to rent spaces for that stuff, Plugins don't cost much, right? I mean, they just sit there on your drive, but physical, it's tough. But it's great because it makes such beautiful music. So I think it's worth every penny. But it is specific, It is a specific kind of hobby to have a gear around to make your profession happen. So yeah, that's basically what we know. What's kind of culminated from all of that, and also obviously right in 2000, I was the Pro Tools guy in studios where bands would freak out because I could auto-tune their vocals or cut their drums, and they would rent me and my rig, I guess at the time, which is
So you're for rent.
was that?
You are for rent.
Yeah, I was for rent. I was a rent boy.
for rent.
Yeah, but I had to give that up and get a full-time gig because obviously everybody had Pro Tools at a point. So yeah, it was a small window of time to really meet some great
That's
people.
Something interesting that we can talk about is how it's evolved from going to a studio to going to a room in your home.
Yeah.
And really knowing your space and how you can create really viable commercial recordings, in your bathroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty exciting.
Yeah. And Kate, hi.
My name's Kate Cooper. I'm an Australian living in Montreal, which is insane and it is far too cold. But love. So I work for originally I started out, I'm a musician who decided that touring was going to kill me and I needed to stop. And then this non-French speaking girl got a job in Montreal in music, which is something I couldn't do in an English-speaking city. And it was a production music library called Premium Beach. And about 18 months after working there, the company was bought by a company called Shutterstock. So now I am the music producer for both libraries. And I can't believe I still get to be paid to do it and I don't have to tour. That's like insane. They pay me money and I get to stay at home.
It's Canadian money, though, so...
I mean, it's the same as Australian money, so I feel okay.
Yeah. And I think also another thing, like revenue stream and way to make a viable living that people don't think about as creators of music is the kind of stock music world.
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
Yeah.
In the last, even in the small amount of time I've been doing it, it's a thing. We can get into it.
We're gonna. Yeah.
Sick.
So up for it.
Yeah. David, you don't have to say anything if you don't want. Everybody knows you, I think.
I mean, I hope they do. I'm the vice president of the Guild of Music Supervisors. I think I have the best job because I get to work with fucking musicians. And I hope that goes to musicians. I also host the Music Supercast podcast, which is fucking phenomenal. So check that out. And
It is good.
Yeah,
You're on
and
the tape after that.
No, that's 20. We're
Okay,
good.
cool. All right. Is it? Yeah, all right. He's
I
good.
got more.
He's good.
We got paid. So I'm really excited to discover music in Vancouver for all the projects that we work on: film, television, VR. We're doing all sorts of stuff, lots of series, and I'm always excited to be a part of this. Thanks to Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Okay, so now we're going to get into some really serious shit. I didn't bring any money with me. It's in the back.
Do you take debit?
Yeah. I'll Venmo that cup. Do you guys have Venmo here? No.
I can loan you.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not paying you back. So I want to kind of, because in my world I've seen just an increase in content, which translates to an increase in licenses of music. So I need more and more music. Literally every month, I think, we're producing more and more content, whether it's a Snapchat that we need music for, that's going to live for 24 hours, or a Super Bowl commercial with like 30 different add-ons and extensions, that we need to put music in. So I want to know from your guys' perspective, because I think we have a pretty varied panel here with people from different avenues of this industry, just how, if you're seeing that same increase that I'm seeing, and where if you're seeing like a kind of like a proliferation towards one place that you're getting more music from, and then Kate, for you, if you're seeing different kinds of content that you're an increase in music towards those pieces of content. That was just for everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know, like, you read those YouTube statistics, it's like every minute 400 hours of footage are uploaded to YouTube. And so I would say that the sphere we work in, I would say maybe like 90% of our business is online advertising and YouTube, pre-roll, that kind of thing. So there's just so much need for music. And I think that what we try to do, or what I try to do specifically, is make it not crap. because there's a lot of shit music about, because there's so much content. So for us, it's all about making the best content for so much.
That's a speed issue as well. With all the branding content, everything, it's like fantastic that the opportunities are like, there's so much going on. But with it, I find, especially agencies, sometimes can't even literally keep up with the speed of the, everything's going up so fast.
We're completely underwater all the time.
So we find ourselves pinging work across time zones to create that opportunity.
Right.
And it's just, there's loads of stuff going on, but how you make the money out of it and also how you can build in budget and time is a tricky beast.
I have to agree with everybody here. I mean, essentially, libraries, or as they're called before, are excellent right now. A lot of them are boutique, so they have their own kind of like genres that they kind
What
of...
are we calling them now? Is it not library? What is it?
Superstores or something? I don't know. I mean, it's basically...
Big box superstore?
Yeah, exactly.
I just licensed some music from Walmart the other day. It was awesome.
Terrific stuff, yeah. Return policy. It's essentially, I mean, labels have now become this kind of, it's melding so much with production libraries. I know at EA, obviously marketing content is a big deal, especially online, social media. And how do you get tracks that are whitelisted and they won't get pulled down? Because you'll have a lot of fans put up stuff and then, obviously that whole thing. So I guess about 8 years ago, I kind of talked to the Audio Network and worked out a global licensing blanket deal to cover all of our production studios, I guess worldwide, which is a lot, seemingly. And from every corner of the globe, with each having their own kind of rights. Obviously, Russia, down to like Saudi Arabia. Everybody has their kind of provisions. So we wanted a blanket deal that could cover everybody's kind of use cases and offer.
So will you only go to Audio Network, or will you work out the same deal with like APM and
Yeah.
Extreme and other,
So
Shutterstock?
Yeah, exactly. Like we have a deal with Extreme Music, I believe, where we publish our composed content out for exploitation. But yeah, Audio Network is more of the service where we just pull down because they offer more like submixes, which is very helpful, obviously, because you can make something sound super cool, and then from less cool. So yeah, which sometimes happens, right?
Oh, we should talk.
Yes.
Has anyone seen Say Yes to the
only does
Dress?
very cool.
Has anyone seen the show Say Yes to the Dress? Come on, admit it. You have. Right, exactly. That's what we try and do at the Supergroup, all right? We try and bring our client in, we try and sit them on plush chairs, and we try and give them the lay of the land. We try and put a few dresses on them and see what fits nice. We talk about it. We try and upsell the pretty one, despite what the mother-in-law says.
The pretty one, the most expensive one?
It always is.
Yeah.
It's a sexy one.
Yeah.
But it's not the one that I want to sell. I want to sell the artisan middle brand, right? But we're moving tons of unit on the small stuff. But the interesting stuff is big. But I mean, we do like to pump the brakes, and that's when we do our best work. So I guess you could say the Supergroup is a little bit more boutique like that. We do a lot of hand-holding and Sonic Sherpa kind of business, as we call it. We truly do. We're really fucking lame. I mean, we're called the Supergroup, so I owe another 10, right? But
That's swear boys.
but I think it's important for clients that do care about their brand, and especially some of the emerging brands we're seeing in Canada, the cannabis brands that do pump the brakes for a second, understand the landscape, understand where they fit in, what they can afford long-term beyond these big bursts of launches and big media blitzes. How can they sustain themselves for the long term? And we're always asking them those questions, creating a strategy, and then moving forwards as fast as we can. But there is a slowness to it. There is a little bit of say yes to the dress.
So with all
Not
this,
that I watched that.
Yeah, with all the TV that David's watching, and with all the content that we are creating while he's watching TV, have you guys noticed
Shout outs to 600-Pound Life. That's tight.
So I found myself sourcing music from 4 corners of the world, just all different places, and working with people, new people every day, right? Because we're making so much work, and I want like a fresh sound all the time, and not even fresh sound is like a cooler sound, but just a different sound. So have you guys found that you're able or wanting to expand kind of your network of people you're working with, and how do you find them to work with them, and how do they find you?
Tinder.
Dope. I'm on that. I'm so on that.
Yeah, mostly Tinder.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes Bumble.
these folks are great. The people that are working tirelessly to create production music, they're unbelievable. And frankly, the best of the best is being aped out there. So what I'm frankly looking for a lot of times is the really weird, the really quirky, the really real, the really organic stuff that pops out either in a commercial and it sits differently than everything else, non-Western timing that sits differently from other commercials, or big end credit songs that are just bizarre, Dylan-esque. I'm looking for the bizarre because, trust me, the whole world makes great music.
Right. It's a head. You want a head turner. You know, like when
want a head turner.
someone gets up during any kind of programming to make a sandwich or
And that doesn't mean
change
good.
your underwear. You
It
want them to
doesn't-
be
yeah.
like, what? And when they hear your music.
It means interesting, and it means, it means serving the story, truly serving the story, whether that's an ad or a film.
But there's a thing on top of the sort of imagination and creativity is that can you deliver to the expectations of what our clients are forcing us to do, which I love, but it's quite demanding. So there's the artistic and the original element, but then it's like, yeah, can you still do that in like 30 minutes? Yeah.
and
Because we have to upload it,
at least in the States, and not get us all sued, right? So like you need to know that whoever you're because you're entering into this weird agreement that spans the creative and contractual worlds, right? So you need to know that whoever you're working with, while being a creative stalwart, is also buttoned up on the business side, and you can enter into this contractual agreement with them and feel safe and feel like when shit goes wrong, because it's going to at some point during the project, that they got your back and you know them well enough that you want to get their back, right? So that they can deliver on all these promises, not only creative, but contractually as well.
That's almost the biggest thing, I think. I mean, so it seems like what separates, I know amateurs being still a good thing, but obviously professional and amateurs, definitely the paperwork. And if you can have all your rights kind of cleared and set up, you're making money now. You can actually do work in business, and that's basically what separates. I mean, everybody's so great at creating unique sounds, to some degree, and some people are really excellent, but the paperwork will split that down the middle and find out who can really make money and who's able to offer the service. And there's a lot more people actually doing paperwork now, which is amazing.
I think you can.
DocuSigns change lives.
Yeah.
DocuSign.
Yes.
Figure that out, and then you're sweet.
And I think some of the lessons you learn, and what we're trying to preach here is a creative mosaic. You can play in a band that's making legit, interesting, envelope-pushing art, but at the same time, you can have a career in the daytime, servicing production libraries, doing, sound-alikes, doing projects where you're going 30 songs deep into Russian gangster rap and serving that up. It's a way to balance both sides of the world. Why be a barista when you can be hammering out tunes all day to these people and serving your band with that professionalism that you're learning, and bring that back to the band core so you can be fluid, so you can actually have what we love, which is passive income for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we work with a bunch of amazing, talented people, and some of them are won Grammys. A lot of them are on their tour bus writing music when they're not playing shows for us. So it's kind of insane. And I'd name names, and you'd be like, they need to have another job, and it's like, yeah, they do. They won a Grammy, but that doesn't pay the bills. We pay the bills, and so they pump out hit production songs on their bus while touring, and then they come off tour and they don't have to go work in a cafe. They can just go work on their laptop.
Lou Reed was born a rock god, my friend.
I have no idea how we restarted.
I trust you. I trust you, what you just said.
You got that big beard. That looks trustworthy.
I agree. I'm going to go with him.
But also the thing is that I think we're all very sympathetic with artists and stuff because we're all coming from that angle. So we've monetizing stuff, making a living at stuff, but our hearts are with the people trying to make this stuff. And,
And we're the
Maybe
exception, not the
people we work
rule.
for.
Yeah, we just landed a spot for a Vice Hyundai thing for a one-off song that we found from a Toronto artist on SoundCloud. I love that we landed it, but more so I love that we're creating a relationship. Now we're asking them for more, sample-free, awesome hip-hop trap things that are from the street and from their mind. And they're going to deliver a whole bunch of stuff. They're going to be on our radar. And when it rains, it pours in my business. When you have a good relationship, it just keeps on chugging. It's great.
So I have a question about that then. Were you doing just like futzing around on SoundCloud and you found it? Or was this something that somebody emailed to you and you're like, you know what, I'll check this out? Because I'm sure we all get like 7,000 emails a day of people saying like, here's my music, listen to it.
Yeah, sure. We were futzing around on SoundCloud, which
You saying fuck? Or
futzing. It's 30 already.
sure?
I'm good. I want to buy a corned beef sandwich after. Anyways,
There's good corned beef in this city.
A Jew in Vancouver, I need to find it. Yeah, I know, man. We're going to go after. But I think it's important, to kind of push the envelope of risk a little bit as long as we're communicating with our client. So in that case, we had a mix of artists that we work fluidly with that are, sure bet, some of them sort of major label-esque E1 kind of tier stuff, but nothing too high. We only had, a couple tens of thousands, not a lot. But this artist and a couple others, we took the risk on, and I assess it, and we try and do a pre-reach out. We get shortlist. If there's not a shortlist, we warn our client that they could be heading into trouble. Because it's Vice, we also warn them that we're going to be heading into trouble no matter what.
Yeah,
and they like it. They like it. Fist fights happen, things happen, but if we're not pushing the envelope, we're stale. If we're not getting something that's like 2019 dropped last week, we get stink eye from the editors.
Yeah. And Kate, the composers that you work with, how do you find them? Do they find you? Is it a mix of both? How does that work for you?
So we actually have a submission page online, and we get hundreds of submissions a week. I don't listen to them. Someone else does that. It's a job. So we do find composers that way. But I come from a rock and roll background, I guess, and I just have a really big network, and I've met a lot of people, and so then someone will be like, this person is great, you should meet them. But then I'll start working with them, and I would say like 90% of what I do is building relationships with people. And we were discussing backstage about how there's a lot of dicks in the music business, and
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. And if you are a dick, I don't have to work with you. I won't reply to your email, so it's fine. And it's just really easy to be a nice person, because then you could be a nice person doing this awesome creative work. But basically, so we also have a referral program. So someone will introduce me to an artist or a producer, and then they'll be like, hey, I've got 5 friends who have just heard what I'm doing, and they're super down. And I'm like, well, let's chat. And if any of those 5 end up giving me tracks that I buy, I then give the person who referred them money. So it kind of just incentivizes those relationships.
All right, let's just go down the line.
Yeah,
I want to hear how you source your talent.
Well, it's funny because there's a 500-pound gorilla on my back called EA, so it's really difficult to kind of enter new relationships with that thing, and try to keep it cool because, it's dollar signs, obviously. Ask for whatever money you want. But at the end of the day, it's like there's that relationship thing that's artistic that I strive, well, that's kind of how I approach people. And it still is who I kind of come from, is like the artist side, the gear side. I love talking about synthesizers. And it's funny, it's kind of an equalizer amongst all the composers out there. I mean, everybody from the Grammy Award winners to the kind of bedroom guys that are amazing. Like they're so talented and they're so prolific. I mean, there's some people that the biggest kind of challenge right now is the death by options. Some of these people are so prolific that they'll give me 8 versions of that song that day that are all amazing from all these different genres. You're like, what the hell are you eating?
And when do you sleep?
Exactly. When do you sleep and you're still cheery and you're still organized? I'm like, okay, that's obviously the next generation of DNA that's been happening.
Drugs are amazing.
Yeah, drugs are amazing
I was
nowadays.
I was in bed at 8:30 last night, so definitely I'm older than that person.
Yeah, but it's great because what you get is an elevated game. You get a whole next bar setting, and like Dave mentioned earlier about sound design. I think really that is the future of where we're headed to, because everything is a sound bite, and having proper sound design, it can sell or make a brand go into obscurity. The music side, there's only 12 notes, so I mean, been recombined in every different way. Sound design is, I think, the next glue that will help.
145. I
Yes.
think is just going to be
145
145
is basically it. Yeah. Yeah. Cut out the rest and you're good. But that's yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
And I agree. You know, the talent thing is the thing, right? So, and it's really hard to find. And I've spent hours in pubs drinking so much beer with every bloody person who's a sound designer, mixer, whatever, composer. And at the end of the day, I create a thing where I put directors, producers in a airtight space with someone I'm trusting. And 12 hours later, they're going to come out and go, that was great. And so the trust in that is...
So you find your sound designers and composers in pubs. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Pubs around the world. Like, yeah.
Do they buy or you buy, or how's that work?
I always buy. I don't trust them. They put roofies in it and stuff like that.
Excellent. So I want to talk about kind of passive income a little bit. You were talking about it before, because I feel like, especially in my field in advertising, people don't think of an advert as being able to create passive income for you, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. We're finding literally for a global spot hundreds of thousands of dollars US in royalties a year for a spot that's running globally. So Kate, I'm assuming that your composers, they're relying on that passive income, right? Like that's something that is a very viable source of income for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're relying on it. We offer a buyout deal, so we do buy out the track, and we pay pretty good in the scheme of things. But then we also, tell them that the back end is a real thing, and we have a team working on PRO, chasing PRO dollars, and over the last 5 years, that's gone through the roof. And sometimes you look at the checks that are going out, and it's like, wow, that Shaquille O'Neal Icy Hot commercial that's been playing for the last 4 years, 15 times a night, in 15 stations in the US has made the composer hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's a really viable thing, and it's passive, and as a musician, it's all about maximizing your income streams, and it's like just set and forget. Well, don't forget, you should be checking and chasing that stuff, but it's definitely viable. It's also a bit of a dark art as to how much gets paid out and what have you, but I'm not going to get into that.
There's a lot of drip feed, isn't there, on that?
Yeah, and like even for me as an artist, I've had music placed in TV shows that I've never watched.
Congratulations.
Like the Kardashians. And like sometimes a check comes in and I'm like, whoa, sick, and then I don't see anything for another 18 months, and then another check. So so it is drip feeding in.
Cool. Can I really quick pause to ask someone to give me a 15-minute warning so we can do Q&A? Thank you. Okay.
We done?
Trying. I didn't get my piece of paper, so I'm like looking at my notes on my phone. It keeps turning off. So
She looks hot.
Yeah, she's cool. I'm on Tinder. My bad. I want to talk more kind of about the sound design aspect, because it's something that I think is unique to. It's something I don't really touch, and I don't know a whole lot about it. So I want to understand more of how the process works for you when you're working with someone in sound design, and when you're sourcing it, when it's being purchased. Like just kind of the evolution of the life of a sound design project, or that part of a project. Can you break it down, Dan?
Break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, the best sound designers that we have and use are artists. They're all coming from composer backgrounds, but realize this is actually very similar in its structure. But we need lots of it, and we're paying by the hour for it. And that can be someone. There's two ways that works. How we use them is someone who's got their own setup, and just here's a brief, and here we go, and here's the pictures that they get updated, and they supply sound design that bolts into all the other stuff we do to create the final mix of whatever it is.
Is this mostly advertising, or does it span? Do you do?
No, so we do a lot
TV
of
and film
TV
as well.
Yeah. So we do lots for Netflix and stuff like that. So, but again, it's different people. I'll cherry pick. That person's just ideal for this, depending on what it is and where it's coming from. And that's obviously conversations with directors and stuff like that. And so there's that element, and then the other element, which is people love to see this, is someone coming in and just creating and morphing and fucking with, so I've run out of money, but with sound whilst all the clients are sitting there, and they just love that because they just feel like they're completely creating something. Like the day they shot that is they get another opportunity like, whoa, and it's instant and it's happening in front of them. And that is just playing with sound. That's a skill. And again, you have to be so quick at that. Because people go, oh, I love that, I don't like that, I hate that, oh, I love that. And you just got to keep throwing stuff at it. So again, it's personalities and stuff. Like, I know a lot of talented people who would hate the idea of sitting in a room with 10 advertising chaps. And then I know people who just thrive with it, and everyone gets a beer at the end of it and go, what a great day that was. So there's personalities is very strong in that game.
I think that kind of speaks to, and this is something that I did for years as an artist, was like I was really precious about the music that I was making. And at some point, I think I was humiliated enough to realize that, you know, kind of letting go of it and realizing that once you release it, it's going to live in some aspect somewhere, and you might as well make it work for you, right? So, like, being just letting go of that precious feeling that you have about your art, I think is important.
I think that attitude's definitely changed too. Like, you know, back in the day, it was like you're selling out, and it's like, well, no, selling out is when there's no more tickets to a show, and that's really good.
Right.
And that's what I've always tried to do. So yeah, I've been selling out for years, but guess what? I own a house and I'm having a good time. So, and I also think now, just given that there's so much need for music with all this content, you can still be super precious about your music. Like the music I make personally, I'd never sell to the company I work for, but that's to say I wouldn't create different music for, you know, libraries and that, because then I'm just getting better at my craft, and I'm paying bills, and I'm meeting people, and I'm just, you know, expanding. So I think you can still be precious about your art while getting better at your art and getting paid. And I think there's definitely been a shift into accepting that, and that also probably comes down to the fact that there's no other way for musicians to make money, because we don't make money from selling records. Well, we do make $10 from revenue streams, so.
You could put it in the
It's making like a proper, you know, this is a difference between someone having like a pet project that they just love and are intimate with, or actually is this going to pay for like mortgages, and actually you're going to make a life out of doing this.
And I think that when you start to make money doing music, there's a freedom that comes with it that elevates your art, and you feel inspired. And like when I stopped touring, I was just so exhausted. I didn't ever want to make music again. And then I got this gig, but they're still paying me money to do. And you know, and now it's like, oh, I can make records again because I'm feeling creatively. There's the weight off my shoulders a little bit.
Yeah, and buy gear.
Yeah, I mean,
Sweet synthesizers.
Guitars for me. I'm out of control.
Amps, yeah. Oh yeah, you have to be. I mean, it's.
So guitars and synthesizers are fantastic.
So good.
Yeah, fucking great, whatever. But like for me, what makes a song unique is lyrics and storytelling, okay? And you should definitely be precious about your poetry, and you should be precious about your art. However, what you might think is art isn't really art. But you know, the good stuff, the stuff that's really of a body of work and of a brand, you know? I see John Bryan in the audience there, you know, a poet, an artist, someone who really is great about his brand. If you saw his showcase, he also had visuals that complement everything down the line. That is a brand you need to be precious about. Would I also love to sync his instrumentals, you know, on something? Yeah, absolutely. There's vice opportunities, there's cool opportunities to jump on things without burning your vocals, as we call it, right? Burning that stuff that makes it worth tens of thousands of dollars, or in television and film, thousands of dollars. But it makes it separate from that blanket licensing deal, being part of a group of music that is also, you know, electro synth based, or just guitar rock track, you know, A17, 60, 30, 15. I mean, to me, there's songs and music. They're kind of like, I know they're the same thing, but on this panel in this context, we're talking about a lot of stuff that's not with vocals, that is as good and as energetic as like an Imagine Dragons song or like your new C2C crazy turntablist vibe that is virtuosic. It's if that's a word, but it can compete with anything on the market. What it can't compete with is vocal storytelling, point of view, and now even to pull it back to what you were asking in the beginning, the shift in the dollars.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
The shift, man. I do this professionally of a podcast. I got paid once, but we find that there's a nice shift now, actually a big paradigm shift with dollars moving back into storytelling, where the artists, whether it be you've seen TD Music is getting behind music and diversity and raising every voice, and that only comes with having a point of view and having a tight kind of brand on socials and a perspective and a career outside of almost deaf to this whole world. We're looking for artists, we're looking for social innovators, we're looking to raise voices. That's where brands' dollars are going now, and it's a significant amount of dollars. It's no longer just throw away extra web content, which we heard 5 years ago. Now those are the hero pieces.
Yeah, and I think there's something. There's something that that's hit me over the past few years, is that when I'm drawn to the music that I'm going to use, it needs to sound like someone had to make it. It had to come out of them, right?
Sure.
And I think every piece, no matter how small, no matter if it's a $500 one-time use or if it's in the Super Bowl commercial, it needs to feel like it came from, like it got ripped out of somebody's soul, and that's what it is. And I think even when I'm through the 500,000 tracks on APM or in Audio Network or Shutterstock, like I want it to feel like it was made because it had to live in the world, and I think that's what you're speaking to.
That is what I'm speaking to. Yeah.
So, number one, make music because you have to make music, right? Like, don't make music because you have to pay rent.
I've tried to stop making music. I can't. Sometimes you're just chosen, and it sucks, but it's also kind of awesome. But it's
That's what I was telling you yesterday. It's godly. It's just shooting down lightning bolts on you. It's happening. Telling you.
That's sick.
I want to make music and not be struck by lightning, but that's just me.
It never comes to me. It's like, I mean,
so
keep doing it.
How many people in here are owner rights holders, music makers, creators? That's most everybody.
Awesome.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Have you all been struck by lightning?
Surge protector.
Feels good. Surprisingly.
As far as the music that we use and how we access it, and the music that you guys have curated and how it's getting to you, my email address is daniel.kuypers@bbdo.com. You can email me your music. I probably won't email you back. It's possible I might, but obviously there's a lot of people emailing me their music, so that's how you get your music to me. I'm not going to expect everyone to do what I did. People look at me like I'm crazy when I do that.
I get back to people. I'm Canadian, so I apologize right away.
Yeah, I'm not. Sorry. So, but how do you? I want to kind of just give people an idea. You have a submission form on your site.
Yeah,
so that's
but I mean, I would actually encourage people to check out premiumbeat.com, that's the website that's actually better looking and works a bit better. Shutterstock Music is being rebuilt. That's been a long-term kind of thing. And if you do submit music, make sure you mention this panel. I'll get someone to pull it out, and I will definitely check it out for sure.
Yeah, EA is a little bit weird, only because sometimes people don't have all the rights sorted out. So that's why solicited music is a thing. Obviously, there's a lot of music, and it's just paperwork. I mean, essentially, to get it to the company in order to kind of get it into a game and stuff, usually going through a supervisor, obviously. Deal with a couple great supervisors in LA, Isabel Pettis, Rafaela Lima, and Steve Schnurr. They're really great to work with, and we've made a lot of great things together. And obviously, we have to sometimes kind of take a risk on some of the what do you call kind of like the bedroom kind of superstar, essentially, because. And get them, walk them through the paperwork and make sure that they know what to do moving forward if they really are talented. And long story short, essentially, it's not easy getting it through because there's a huge wall filter it's called the legal department, and they're brutal. They don't smile.
Yeah, I mean, we have the same thing. In order to work with me, you're technically supposed to carry liability insurance up to $2 million, errors and omissions insurance up to $2 million. If there's a piece of music I want to use, I will find a way to use it. But there are barriers to entry for sure, and I think working with like a notable rep or someone like that is a really good way to get in because they probably carry the insurance that is necessary to work in advertising. Almost every advertising agency will have those barriers, and I'm sure you guys are similar.
Yeah.
Because we get sued like every 30 minutes. I probably got sued 3 times just on this being
Absolutely.
on the stage.
People waiting for that paycheck to come. It's just amazing.
It's free money,
Yeah.
I'll meet you in a pub. Anywhere in the
sorry.
world.
He answered
Pick the
that
country, pick the town.
And he's paying. So.
All my words via a pub.
Okay. Mr. Hayman?
I have an army. We have a farm team at Supergroup. We have 18 junior music supervisors who work as a hive mind, and they pitch us rather than have labels pitch us. Those include labels pitches that have been sent to us all day, every day. We have a drive that is all shared. So we're accessing the same stuff, but it is pulled by a hive mind of up-and-coming music supervisors. So we get a perspective. We have an extra day for risk management and assessment of those tracks. But it is very fluid. It is total Wild West in Canada.
Wild North.
Yeah.
For me, it's all relative.
For you. It's all about where you're from,
Yeah. Oh, boot. Is that what you said?
You haven't taped anyone up yet, Daniel.
No.
Slightly disappointed.
Thought you
That
were
was going to be
do
the
that.
highlight.
I'm moderating this here panel. You're the tape guy.
I am wearing duct tape. Just
Yeah.
nobody can tell.
I saw you put that on earlier. That was smart a bit, right?
Safer.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about just money, right? Because we have to talk about that at some point, or touch on it a little bit. And different kind of, we're not going to give any specifics, but just ranges of, you said people get paid by hour, that you're sort of working hourly. So it's like a day rate type thing, or?
Exactly, yeah. And it either come in as like a budget or like an hourly rate. And like, okay, I need 20 hours on this sound design for this project.
And what can people charge per hour for that sort of work?
Oh, like, what do we pay? $100 an hour? Type stuff.
Okay.
US,
Sounds good to me.
Also in US, I mean, obviously this may be something that he doesn't want to be mentioned, but I'll say it anyways, because why not? So we pay by the minute. You can also break that down by seconds if you want. But essentially, it's like anywhere from 1,000 a minute to 8,000 a minute is usually what we pay out for.
He pays way more than I do.
Yeah.
So this is in-game, this is like for in-game music.
Yeah, this is not for licensed, this is like for composed work for hire. That's the thing. Look at the small print. But yeah. So ultimately for buyout, we do that kind of rates, and then obviously there's some PR stuff depending on if their brand is really like if they're got a lot of money behind their brand, we can kind of do some kind of PR thing. But mainly the rate for the actual content is 1,000 to 8,000 a minute.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
We do a buyout deal, and it's a flat fee per track. It's about $600 US, and we usually buy in bulk, so like 5 tracks. So, I mean, it's a really good way to make money if you're between projects. It's $3,000 a month. That's
Are those full-length tracks, or are they 30s, 60s?
We get a bunch of deliverables. We shoot for 2 minutes 30 minimum, and then we need 15, 30, 60 cut downs, loops, and stems. So.
Your shit is all over the place, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, you will find independent music supervisors roaming around. Members of the Guild of Music Supervisors are all going to be independent, and they don't work for you. They work with you as sort of we're the ammunition you're the ammunition we use to kind of fire our guns. But we are all independent, so nobody's looking to sign anybody. I get that question all the time. You're looking to connect with a sync agent or a publisher or somebody who's going to work with you on a catalog or sound design basis. We just find what we need based project to project.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you want to go to, we could go to questions, or if you want to wrap another question, that's
What?
up to you.
Yeah, no, let's
Get a drink.
I think
Doing
let's.
shots.
No shots yet. Okay.
Oh shit. Let's take shots and then let's do questions.
You want to do questions?
Yeah, let's talk to some people.
Yeah, it's super interesting stuff, and there's a lot of info here. So we got some questions from the audience here on any topic.
Yeah. So when it comes to synchronization for like the use of a super popular song, like say, well, for lack of a better term, like Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah for like the 8 millionth time, would you prefer to use that or try and do something similar to it from a different artist just for the sake of variety? Or does that really come down to the arguments between you and the project manager?
Serve the story. What's the story?
Yeah.
I think you're asking half of a question. The first question is, what is the story? What are we going for? And then we would be able to answer all those questions. If all of our answers aren't based on how we're serving the story, then we're off track.
Yeah, it's really creatively what fits the best. I could care less where the music comes from, to be honest with you, as long as it serves our creative. And from an advertising standpoint, we're trying to sell shit, right? We want you to buy some gum and a car and some beer, and maybe some Windex. Like, I want you to buy all that shit. And if the music helps us do that, then it could be the original Leonard Cohen version. It could be your grandma singing it. It could be whatever. It doesn't really matter.
This kind of falls into nostalgia, right? I mean, essentially the branding of brands to brand to brand. Using that Hallelujah track is so well known. It's so burned in people's emotional consciousness that that's the move that it has. It's like the fact that it has that burn on everybody. The same thing with a lot of these other songs that maybe different generations heard. It's just so burned in, and sadly, I don't know what the kids nowadays are going to be burned with, but different stuff.
All I do is win, DJ Khaled. So here's which I'm actually using right now on a spot. So, but the other thing is, and that's a really good point, because there's a lot of times where we want to, if we're trying to reach a very wide demographic, we might want to use a song that resonates with an older demographic, but then use a newer artist to redo it, because then that's familiar to a younger demographic as well, and that way we can kind of cover off, on a wider swath of people that we're reaching.
I also just want to add on the topic of like emotion and stuff. Like, you guys are selling products and you need music that does that. I'm just listening to a whole bunch of music, and when I listen to it, one of the most important things is, does it make me feel something? If it does, then yeah, I'm going to buy it, because sometimes I listen to a track and I'm like, this is a track, it has no context. And if it was put to picture, I would want to buy whatever it was. It's making me feel emotions. And I would say that when you're writing, try to stick to a single emotion. Try not to have 15 emotions in a track, because I'll have a nervous breakdown. But because that's just going to reinforce whatever it's being synced to. So you really just need to push the emo.
Yeah, and I think more and more, especially in advertising, more and more storytelling is happening. And we're making like almost every spot that we do, we also make like at least a 2-minute version. And for some reason, my agency is known for just making people cry. So we're just like trying to make people cry all day, every day.
To that point, I think the trend is called, or we call it, sadvertising.
Yeah, we're heavy into that. I'm like the king of sadvertising music, dude.
I believe
Killing it.
I'm really proud to say that Canada is a little twisted right now. We feel like we're popping back into the quirk and the fun. We've seen, a push back against what we're calling advertising, slowing down, a 90s song and doing a sad female voice. It's been done. It's been done by every brand up here. And now we're seeing brands pop back. We just, had Mother and that type of kind of thing demo on something, a classic, nostalgic song that hits all those chords with the mass, but gets you energized and gets you excited. And I'm glad to see that returning to advertising.
Can you just import that southward to my
I'm pushing.
neck of the woods?
I'm pushing. We're trying to make such great ads for brands that are in Canada, like the Hyundai, Honda, Chevy, all these brands. We're trying to do great stuff. If it goes south, fantastic. We've seen opportunities in Canada go global, and it's not always south. It's east, it's west, it goes all over. And we've had South America.
We did, but we weren't going to talk about that.
Don't tell anybody about what happened in South America, okay? Colombia, Bogota, okay, baby, I miss you.
We're at the nub of what we're
I just had a feeling.
Wow.
I think it's time for the tape.
Can I take back money?
I just had a feeling things were going to go really strange with these guys. Can we get another question, please?
Well, thanks for this panel. I was wondering if you have like all the legal stuff behind all the laws and everything. If there's any good source to read up about that, or any good website, or any good course that you know of to get on the in behinds. And also, there's you ever tried to push something that you thought was a great idea and then go through like they tried to get Ring of Fire into Preparation H commercials, and they wouldn't go for it. So the Johnny Cash Foundation, but. If you have any other one of those, I'd like to hear that too.
That's Daniel's claim to fame, actually.
Yeah,
that was his
that
idea.
was me. I was pushing that. So, as far as the legal stuff, I think almost every company is probably different. Like I probably have different hoops to jump through than you do, but they're similar. I think there's probably a university here that offers a music business course that I would think touches on that. I think in Chicago, there's Columbia College has courses where they kind of teach you about that stuff, but I don't think anyone pays attention during that part of the class, unfortunately.
It's a minefield, right?
Yeah, it's super weird. I think it's something that I had no idea about until I got in the agency. I came from the music side, and then I got in there, and I'm like, what? I can't use that music, work with that person, do any of this stuff. So I spent literally 5 years trying to break it down so that I could work with anybody I wanted to. I don't know of any. Do you guys know of any source
There's
information?
a great resource out there. It's the Fulford World Podcast. It's John Fulford. He's all about this world of PROs and navigating it and the conferences and networking and the hustle to work in this industry and how to kind of turn it on and keeping the fire lit. It's both motivational and it's really informative. It's one of the best podcasts.
John's probably like standing outside on the sidewalk too. Every conference I go to, he's like standing outside.
He's everywhere.
Of it. Yeah.
You do have to hustle, especially when you're like him and he's buying other catalogs and other people's, well, not catalogs. He'll find people at festivals like this and meet them and gather in their music and get 5 friends and go from there. But he does that by shaking hands, and kissing babies.
Yeah. Sorry, the other part of your question was like literally twice a week I have my heart crushed by some creative in my agency who's like, no, I wanted to use Coldplay. Like that's just kind of part of it. I've learned, I think we probably all learned at some point to like fight for a couple battles a year, otherwise you just burn yourself out.
I fight for Canadian artists.
Yeah,
I try.
I really do. You guys have been great to me over the years, so I do that as well.
Just to point out the obvious too, the Music BC is still a great resource. You can talk to Lindsay or Alex or any of those people. I was like right there.
100%. Yep. And ask questions of
question here.
SOCAN is great about educating. Mm-hmm. If you have questions, reach out to them. They're also great about coming to you if there's like a group of you, if you're doing meetups around the music community. SOCAN will come out to you and educate, I'm pretty sure. So,
Hi guys. This is the third time in just many panels I've heard the term sampleless music, and I think there's a article that came out just saying that if Paul's Boutique was released today, it would cost like $900 million or something like that. Is sampling just not even an option anymore? Like in terms of just because of the legalities, or
make a great track.
Yeah.
There you go.
And there's so many sample libraries and like so many more resources that are available. Like I don't know, Splice and all sorts of things. Sometimes it's at the point now where I'm getting tracks and I'm like, no, I've heard the sample 5 times this week, but. I mean, there's a lot you can do with a sample to make it not sound like it was a sample.
And sub question: has anyone slipped one past the goalie on you guys without, you guys have a sample without you noticing?
Mm-hmm.
And what were the repercussions then?
Expensive. Yeah, especially Daft Punk. Oh yeah, a lot of hip hoppers like to put the samples, of course, of like great music like Daft Punk, but the French PROs are nasty when it comes to stuff. And obviously that one,
I think that it's more just of that we're probably super busy and don't have time to negotiate with like 12 different rights holders, because you're gonna have to clear the original sample and that's part of it. And then we need to make sure that you guys have some sort of agreement with those rights holders, or we have to facilitate that. It's just like kind of a logistical nightmare more than anything. But I think we'd all agree a great track is a great track. Yeah,
absolutely.
So.
Yeah, like clearance of a clearance of a clearance. I mean, you're basically clearing every piece of it, which is, makes some people crazy.
It's the worst part of
it. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Another question? Wow, you guys know everything now?
Kind of off topic, but Ricardo, what is your favorite synthesizer? Because I'm a synth nerd.
Well, let me tell you.
It's not off topic.
My favorite, that's so many I do like. Let's see. I would have to say the ARP 2600 is like my favorite in the studio that I can't imagine living without it. The 2500 is a lot. It's more of the same, but it's definitely a different beast. But yeah, out of the two, 2600 is where it's at. I mean, it's a world, man. You know, you can really fly into that thing. It's got speakers built in, which is great, and spring reverb, which is amazing, because, you know, who doesn't like spring reverb? And so, yeah, you can plug stuff
Dude,
into
you're
it.
making me horny. Keep
I know.
talking, man.
It's fantastic. It's just 15 grand, though, is the price point of that, sadly. And if you can find one, goddamn, it's so hard to find. It's like...
Are you selling one?
No, never.
Wow.
Buy another one if you
That's very romantic. I've never heard or seen anyone talk about synthesizers the way you just did right there.
It's not even a synth. It's a special place.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Ricardo's wet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is just still going. Okay. Actually, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Kate, I just want, I think what I really wanted to bring you out here, because I think you do something that's really kind of unique and special, and I like this conversation about the time in between you're playing in your band, and there's a lot of time. That was the thing that bothered me so much about being in a band. It's
Same.
like you play for 45 minutes, and there's days and days and days of nothing. And I like this idea of the new musician filling their time with music. But can you? I feel you haven't delved into like what is this music that you're looking for? Like, can you give me like the last 4 cues or the last 4 briefs that you work on? Because I think it would provide this audience a little perspective, the difference between these magical songs and then the not sucking other stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, so my job's so interesting insofar as no one knows what I do in the company. I'm left completely alone. I don't even use briefs. People just come to me. Often we have a team that deals with customers, and sometimes we'll get requests from them saying, hey, we want this song, and, you know, or something that sounds like this song. So it's kind of, I'm kind of agile in that I can work on anything, and then I also have to look ahead to be like, you know, it's going to be Christmas soon, so I'm already deep in Christmas music, and, you know, in May I was deep in Halloween kind of stuff. So I listen to a lot of music every day. I would say like 5 out of the 8 hours I'm listening to tracks, and I think it's like 160 tracks a month. So I couldn't tell you the last 4 things because I don't remember. I don't even remember what I buy. Like when Tesla, they announced a new vehicle and did this big reveal, and I watched it and I was like, oh, this track's great. And then I went to work that day and the artist was like, hey, did you see the track get used in the reveal? And I was like, oh, I worked on that. Shit, like there's just so much music. So yeah, so basically, because we're a library, we just have everything. And, you know, there's definitely stuff that sells, you know, we have like legacy stuff, like later next month I'm going to Portugal to do a big string session, and we're doing some in Bratislava as well. But then also, you know, and that stuff will sell for the next 20 years, if music libraries are a thing in 20 years. But then, you know, we do the other stuff where we're buying like electropop or like hip hop and trap and that kind of stuff, and that'll probably sell for 6 months before, you know, it goes out of fashion again. So basically what I tell people who are looking to get into this is like, just write to your strengths. Don't try to, like if you're a hip hop person and you try to give me a film score, I'm going to hear that it sucks. So it's like, go on the website, have a listen to what genres you're into, download a preview, pull it into your DAW, and use that as a sonic and structural template. Because writing for library is different to writing, you know, popular music, I guess. There's, you know, it's more hooks and you got to grab people. And then also you're dealing with 10,000 tracks on the site, so you got to make your track jump out as well.
So you said you buy 160 tracks a month?
I think I buy...
That's like $1.2 million a year that you're spending money on.
And,
Rob's good at math.
It's actually a lot more than that because there's 2 of us who do it,
Sure.
and we have a fairly large budget. So it is insane. It's like, it's sick. I was like, go make some music. It's like, all right, cool. What's happening? What should I do?
awesome.
You know, and the other thing is like we are a global company, and so we're really trying to. Our website's available in so many languages, so we're like trying to get people writing stuff in Japan, and we're trying to get, you know, into a bunch, you know, fine artists in India and that kind of stuff. So it's crazy. It's everything, everywhere music.
Wow. Yeah. I was actually...
Shit. Are we done then?
Well, that
She just did that.
Thank you, good night.
I was actually looking at these titles and wondering where the F I thought about the last one was so weird. Composure and composing. Sorry about that, everybody. I have one more. Can I do one more question? I can do. I can do
You
whatever,
can do whatever you want,
okay.
man.
Dan,
So,
you talked about. We didn't kind of dive into. You've talked a little bit very freely about this sort of talent drain in the UK and a little bit about in LA, and with sort of your newfound love for our wonderful city. I think I'm feeling extremely optimistic about the way that you came into this city that is Vancouver and had a very you were immediately hit by sort of an optimism about Vancouver, and I don't know if you can expand on that for me in relationship to LA, and not to badmouth either city, I love them both, but what is it that you have felt about this city that inspires you to want to be here?
Vancouver. Yeah. Well, when I first came up here, I had been through quite a big bunch of projects in London, and everyone's a bit down in London about Brexit. And by the way, on behalf of Britain, I want to apologise for Coldplay, the fucking mayonnaise of music. I just want to get that in as they came up. So I went from London, which I love, that's where I'm from, to LA, which I love, and then we had a whole load of stuff going on there, all good stuff, but quite involved. And then I came up here, and it was just like, I love it. And it was just fresh, and everyone's literally just like, let's do some stuff. So obviously, maybe size of markets, but the whole angle here is different. It's a different look at the same beasts. So, and London's got a lot going on. Obviously, LA's is what it is. And so with that, people are kind of a bit crushed because a lot of people have been trying hard and it doesn't work out. But here, it feels like everyone's like, yeah, let's fucking have a go. Yeah. And I really felt that. And I hadn't been here before this year. And love it. Really looking forward to, doing business here. It's just a good place.
I think you could distill that down to would you rather work and spend time with British people? No offense. People in LA, kind of the worst, or Canadians. Canadians win every time.
Okay, so
It's true.
But I'm kind of leading this just to closure here. But I'm in criticism of us. I feel sometimes we don't bat like above our weight, and we sit back a little bit. I've seen it happen kind of this within this conference and stuff too, but I think we need some outside sources, especially you guys coming from other countries, to kind of kick our ass a little bit, and I think we need an ass kicking. But it's fresh to. I mean, sure, we're great, we're nice people, right? We're nice people, but we need something more than
so
that.
nice. I found a girlfriend here in the first week I was here, right?
That was definitely helpful.
Tinder.
I didn't even have to go on the app.
Anyway, I guess we got to close this off because we have one more panel. But I honestly, that's exactly what I expected from this crew here. So I'm very pleased that this kind of meandered through some dodgy topics and a lot of swearing and a little bit of weirdness.
And the swear jar will be used for shots of tequila, right?
Yeah.
So there's not enough in there.
Obviously, these panelists are very approachable, and we'll gladly talk to you guys. So we're going to take a little break here, but I just want to thank Daniel for coming all the way from Chicago, and these guys for giving us some knowledge here. So.